Welcome back to the studio, where today we're going to unwind and reset with some black paper, a number 6 round brush, and one of my favorite pigments, which is this highly pigmented shimmery silver. If your mind feels very noisy, this is just a gentle space to exhale. We're going to get our paint activated and all up in our brush. And then we're going to paint some circles, spreading out the tip of the brush as we go around and coming back in to clean up anything that we would like a little smoother. There's a little something going on in there which I can pick up. This is a space where we can just totally reset. Imagine you are one of these circles and we're just kind of perfecting the edges, making them clean and feel balanced, just like this. I'm also going to go in here, clean that up, like so. So let yourself watch the rhythm of the brush and just fade away into the flow. Again, we're going to come round, watch everything twinkle as we do that. You're allowed to rest here, so let yourself do that. There's nothing else you need to be doing right now except vibing, watching the pigment spread. We want this one to be a little bit thicker, so we're going to go around. Let's kind of ease out all the wrinkles going on in our minds. Just bring everything back to zero. I'm going to move the paper around so I have a better angle. Move the paper so you can best see what's happening as we swirl the brush around, coming to meet itself and keeping going until we meet at a place that's smooth and makes sense. And then we can come back around, fill in any little bits, taking our time, making sure everything is how we want it to be. Watching how the paint randomly disperses itself throughout the circle that we've made, without judgment, just kind of noticing. Let's do another one and just kind of take in the simplicity of these shapes and the colors, how it makes you feel. Here's a nice area to restructure, just like this. Once we have something down on the paper, we can then work with it. It does not have to be perfect as soon as it goes down there. So let's do one more. Over here, we're going to do one that half goes off the paper, just for a little bit of variety. So we're going to start here and wave our way around off the edge, and then we're going to go edit any tapering, like this. Look how juicy this pigment is. Perfect. Here we can go ahead and fill in this circle by tracing around the curves of the line that we made, focusing on keeping the black space between our two silver lines as consistent as we can. So carefully bringing the paint around, like so. Now you can watch how I dip into here and repeat the same thing. Imagine yourself just feeling soft in your body, letting go of the tension as all these lines make their way onto our paper. So areas like that are fingerprint marks, which is totally fine. It's just kind of part of the piece. We don't need to let that bother us. Just means a human touched this paper. Probably me. There we go. Now that's that section complete. Time we start a new circle, I want you to think about it as a reset time where you're going to take a deep breath in and let that oxygen get into your body and reset you. So we're crisping up these edges, and then we're going to move around that point and make it a little more round inside of our shape. There we go. I'm going to do that a little more right here. Look at the sparkles dancing in the paint. Very fun. Maybe a little more here too, actually. Just taking our time to make sure it's as clean as it can be. Every stroke here is an exhale. So now we're going to use the tip of the brush, because this is a smaller area, to go around as far as we can go in both directions. Picking up paint from the center, because we have quite a lot, and moving around our curves, meeting up at the edge. Down the side. And then we're going to imitate this thickness throughout. So carrying like this and like this till we have a shape that we are happy with. And from there, we're going to, did you just hear my tummy rumble? Because it did. We're going to take the tip of our brush, slowing down enough to focus and get it as clean and crisp as we can, reflecting the curves on the outside. Okay, now let's move on to this one right here. So choosing a random starting point and just dancing our brush around the edges until our wrist space expires, re-upping on paint and coming from the other side where it's comfortable with our grip and connecting, and then we can use the tip. This color dispersed quite a lot, so I'm going to re-up it like this, just following exactly where the path was before. So I'm not making any new shape, just adding to what we have going on. Here as well, just so there's really a stark contrast between the black and the silver. Getting all the way to the edge. See a little bit there, and I see a little bit here too. Okay, that's pretty good. Re-upping again, I'm going to start at the top, drag the bristles around as far as feels comfortable, and then go from the other side. And back around. Following the curves of what was before, so we have a little bit of a point over here. Softening this edge, coming around, noticing how it's kind of turning into an oval, but noticing without judgment, more just, cool, that's what's happening. I'm going to precisely go around the edge here. Maybe a little here too. Notice we can come back and edit. Doesn't have to be our final thing, the stroke we put down. There isn't that much pressure on this. So now this is an interesting little oval. I'm going to use the very tip of my brush to work my way around and basically paint up until the black space is as similar as it can be to whatever else is on the page. This is a great brush because the belly holds a lot of paint, but the tip is also very precise. So it's one tool for a few different looks. Okay, on to this circle here. Notice everything has slowed down. Your heart rate can follow and do the same. Coming around, very controlled. Oops, we've got our finger in that. We just cover it up like that. And then come back here to even out that line. I want to even this out here. And the same going this way. The bigger our brush is, the wider our strokes will be. And vice versa. Smaller the brush, the smaller our strokes. Okay. Now, once we smooth out that little corner that appeared, we're going to go into the center. And more so draw than paint what we want this shape to be like, because it's too small for us to put the belly flat like we had been on the outside of the other shapes. Now I'm actually going to soften this here because it is cleaner to do that than to change what's on the inside. Okay, awesome. I'm going to shift the paper slightly and move over to this circle right here. Let's just really take in the simplicity of the moment. We just have two colors going on, one shape. Granted, it's in lots of different ways. We have lots of different kind of circles, but they're all circles. Each one is allowed to have the space to be itself, both physically and emotionally. Who knew circles could be emotional? Okay, now we have this shape down on the paper. We're going to do our classic third layer using the tip of our brush. Coming around. Getting up there as far as we can, and then we're going to make the width that we want here, the width on this side, and connecting them with a smooth line, just like this, that we're then going to fill in with the tip of our brush, like a drawing. Let's revel in the stillness because it is what we craved and we finally have and deserve it. So now we're moving along to filling in the last circle. Look at how the pigment has organically collected. Really cool to see that. Remember, we can observe, but we don't need to think. We can just kind of see. let this be what it is. So coming along over here. And then we want to give this the width we'd like over here, and then round out those tips to better reflect the rest of the piece. And then this is a very little one, so we'll just do a little bit of drawing as we get in there. Okay, now we're going to move to a bird's eye view. Up here we can see the lovely pattern that's starting to form, and we're going to start to do some outer layers, pressing the brush down, moving in no rush around our shape until our wrist is over it. Clean that up a little. Just like this. Then we're going to free up our paint and come back on the other side. I think I'd like to add some more pigment to this. So I let it finish the stroke, smooth it out, then come back in and just add a little more. Now we want to connect these two, but the line is also going to go around this circle here. So let's give it a tail so we kind of remember where it came from as we work on the middle. Clean up that tapering like this, and also on this side. Same over here. And now we have this exciting negative space to work with in the middle. So I'm going to get the tip of my brush and continue this line to connect, and then do the same on the top, kind of just running into itself. It gets very slim. Like so. How fun. Now we'll continue around. It's a big shape, so we want to really load up with our silver. Moving around the edges and meeting up smoothly, and then cleaning up our taper. Like so. Now before we get over here, we can tell that this outline is going to touch that one, so we can just go ahead and do it. Starting over here, while it's still wet, look at them blend together and come out the other side. And then we want to crisp up that line on this side and also on the bottom before we go ahead and move on into the rest of this circle here, which we're going to turn our piece around for. Re-up on our paint, connect while it's still wet, and drag our brush seamlessly through these two circles until we meet up with where we left off on the other side, making this a little bit thicker. Because that feels right. So, you guessed it, this one is also going to connect, so we can go ahead and do that now. Curving around. A clean, it's very skinny little black space. Quite delicate. And then we're going to come around the other side too with the tail, so we remember where we were, we don't lose our place. And then we clean up the taper. Okay. Then I'm going to come round over here, dragging my brush along the curve bringing all that nice silver pigment over to this side where it seamlessly meets up. Give the connection a little bit of a blend, like that. And another time, we're going to twist our paper. Connect. And come through, pulling up the brush so less surface area is touching as we go through. And connecting. I'd like to clean up this wavering. Then we're going to get in the middle, come down this side, skinny through the edge of the paper, coming around. Look at that beautiful brush stroke. Clean up the taper, give it a curve, and then come down this side as well. Gonna go clean up that little corner right there, but not before we pull this all the way around and connect. So we'll come back in here like this. I see an area we could use there. And at the bottom, I also think we can make it a little bit thicker. Okay. So that was all one line, which was pretty cool. We still have one here, and I'm pretty sure that it's going to connect with that, which will bring them all into one spill situation. So let's start that way, going around, really getting a thick stroke by pressing down a lot on our bristles, getting all the way into the belly of the brush. Like so. And then around the side. And down. Smoothing it out and also doing that right here. So now let's take a look at our whole piece. Interpreted as so many things, which is one of my favorite parts about art. So let's go ahead and do the bottom, putting our tip in the corner and then pulling along, careful at the edge of the paper until we get up where we can put this corner and down. Just gonna fill that in. Now this is so delicate and this is a biggish brush, so I don't want to touch it too much. Just like that, maybe. Boop. Then the same on this side. Really thinking about that black space. Consistency. Now just like the pigment on this page, this nice silver, you are also allowed to take up space. I think we can get overstimulated when we don't feel like that's the truth, but it is. If you're somewhere where you don't feel like you can take up space, that is not your environment. Always want to be somewhere where we feel appreciated and safe. So we'll close this out. This kind of looks like the eyes of an owl. And clean the taper. Now there's a tiny little triangle there. Can we do it? Just a little bit. Awesome. So let's turn our paper as we go to this corner. Try and keep the silver in the shot when I can. And we're going to start in this corner. I like to start in the corners. And pull ourselves along. Lots of fingerprints at the end of the paper, edge of the paper. And that's because when we flip through the book, we're touching it. So that was me. But because watercolor is translucent anyway and not kind of opaque and perfect, which is something that I love about it, it doesn't really matter. So back up here. Awesome, and we have another little owl situation. So we'll use our tip to get in there, very tip. That feels good to me with one little slight adjustment. Okay, I'm going to put a little more pigment on this here and also in that connection. And then we're going to go sideways here. It can be tricky at the edge because there's this flap from the previous papers. And that kind of gets in the way of our total freedom, but we don't need to let it bug us. We just need to know it might not be exact in that area. So we've done about half of our paper, sorta. We're gonna get working over here. This so you can see the brush moving, hopefully. Round. Pretty much off the edge of the page, but we're gonna come back to that once we get to that section. I don't like that angle, so we're gonna redo. Dragging ourselves up, over to the side, then with some cleanup on our tapering. Then I'm going to get the tip as far as we can, pick up and back down. We've created another little owl shape again. Get rid of our taper. And I want to smooth this out just a little. Then we can go in the corner again. With every go round, the corner gets less crispy or tight. Actually, let's just do that. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. This is a painting pad that I use, so it's okay that we get paint on it. Up into that crevice and along. I'm going to hit the edge there, so I'm going to need to come back this way. Clear my taper. Clear the taper here, and clear the taper here. That kind of just made more of a taper. There we go. This needs to follow up there. And then we can make our little nice thing like that. Okay, that corner's set. So let's return. Can we get closer? Maybe. Let's return to that little edge. And I'm going to make our tail. And then kind of, well, we can make that a little thicker, can't we? Be very precise to connect these just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. We're going to twist our angle. Pick up here. And move through the shape. Down into this corner. And then I want to clean up this line because it was a little wiggly. Also clean it up by the edge. And then it's going to go round like this, choo, 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 and come back here. So while I have this angle, I'm going to do that part. Give it a tail. Didn't have the best angle here, so kind of do the basis for what we need, and then once we can perfect our positioning, we can go ahead and clear it up. Okay. So let's twist this around. Kind of looks like a little bit of a smile, doesn't it? Get in the corner, press down as far as we can go safely, and then come backwards with our tip. I want that a little pointier. Nice. Okay, then we're just going to smooth that out too. So let's check in with yourself. Are you feeling like you can breathe a little easier? Have you slowed down with the paint? This feeling that you have now, you're going to take with you after this painting too. And this is how you're going to feel the rest of the day. You're soothed. You just needed a little reset, that's all. Let's turn this around so we can get some precision on there. It's kind of like a computer. Sometimes you just need to unplug it. We are the same way. So consider this your unplug, your reboot, however you need it to be. It's there for you. Now we want to be very precise with these little triangles. I'm going to give them a gist, and then go in carefully. And this little one right here. Okay. So now we're going to pick back up on that tail that we left ourselves, which could be smoother. So I'm going to start like this. Go around the side of the paper. It's a little hard to see where I am standing or sitting. So I'm going to readjust, and then come back around from this side. Kind of using this edge line of our previous circle as my instructor for where we go next. Clean that up over here. Our bristles of our brush split. So we made a little shiny pile right there. You should see how many little piles are on this paint mat. It's kind of character though, so it's all good. Okay, and close that one out. Now I want to twist this around so that I can kind of get a better angle of this and clean up that black space. Oh, making it very tight, but that's all right. It's like a little hug on the corner. So we're going to do this triangle here, and then we're going to move over to our last bit. So tip in the corner and pull outwards. Same over here. placing that and dragging it down. Little tiny bit of crispiness up there, actually. Okay. Oh, I feel like that could be smoother. Okay. Moving our paper around. I wish you could see this in person. It's so shimmery. We'll do a little flow of it at the end. Going to refocus here, and then I like to do the longer strokes first. So I'm going to get in my corner and pull downwards, and then pull sideways and connect these two lines. Again, a lot of point action going on. And clean up. And thickening. Removing the taper. And I kind of like that taper, actually. We'll just quiet it ever so slightly. Okay. Then, I've got a little too much on my brush there. I'm going to get in the corner as best I can and pull downwards. Pull upwards. Tighten that. Boom, boom. And then get in here. And then we have our final little triangle before we get to see the whole thing together. Okay. Up to a bird's eye view, we can see our whole painting together. Look how shimmery that is. So cool. Let me focus. Whoa. You did something kind and great for yourself today by just being here and letting yourself recenter. So it's time to go back to your day. But I am super impressed with you. Look at that. Should we refix that together? As you kind of wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, and get ready to head back into the world. You've done your reset. The day might not be going how you want it to, but you can appreciate that you took this little moment and you're at least a little calmer. And you can tackle whatever is coming, I promise. You got it. All right, thanks for painting with me. Remember, you can always come back here when you need a little reset, and I'll see you later.